Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all fine. Today we are going to start with the main structure in Unit 1, which is relative clauses. The meaning of we have relative clause and relative pronoun. Relative clauses in Arabic يعني الجمل الوصل ورelative pronoun ضمير الوصل. Let's start. Relative clauses tell us which person or thing or what kind of person or thing the speaker means. For example, look at the first sentence. The woman who lives next door. This sentence, who lives next door, بنسميها in English relative clause. But who لحالها is a relative pronoun. So what is the difference between relative pronoun and relative clause? Relative pronoun, who, but relative clause, who lives next door. Okay, the woman who lives next door tells us which woman is the speaker, is talking about. People who live in the country. The sentence who live in the country tells us what kind of people the speaker is talking about. And here, who is a relative pronoun, and who live in the country is a relative clause. Okay, the structure. A. We use who in a relative clause when we are talking about people, not things. When we are talking about people, لما بنحكي عن ناس عاقل, we use who. Look at the first sentence. The woman who lives next door is a doctor. In this sentence, we used who because we are talking about woman. The woman who lives next door is a doctor. We know a lot of people who live in the country. Because we are talking about people, we used who. Okay, can you do number 3? Yes. An architect is someone. What's the meaning of architect? مهندس معماري. An architect is someone who designs buildings. Number 4. Anyone who wants to apply for the job must do so next Friday. Anyone who, because we are talking about anyone. What was the name of the person? Number 5. What was the name of the person who phoned you? Who, because we are talking about a person. Is it clear? I think yes. So for the first thing is to know that we use who for people. And you have to know that who is a relative pronoun, and the sentence with the pronoun who lives next door is a relative clause. Okay, let's move to B. We use which in a relative clause when we are talking about things. Things, إشي غير عاقل. Yes, we use which. It means الذي or التي. As who. الذي or التي. But here we use it for things, for people, and which for things. Number 1. Where is the cheese which was in the fridge? Because we are talking about cheese, anything, we used here which. Number 2. I don't like stories which have unhappy endings. Okay, number 3. The machine which broke down is working again. Because we are talking about machine, thing, we use which. Okay, let's start with exercise 1, the first exercise. In this exercise, you have to explain what some words mean, choose the right meaning from the box, and then write sentences with who. So we are going to write sentences with who, with these complements of sentences. First of all, I'll give you the meanings. An architect مهندس معماري. burglar لص. a customer زبون. shoplifter shoplifter اللي هي يعني اللي بيسرق من المحلات. coward جبان. an atheist ملحد. ملحد يعني الشخص الملحد اللي ما عنده إيمان. pessimist متشائم. وtenant مستأجر. How can we do the first one? For example, an architect is someone who. We have to start like this. An architect is someone who. A burglar is someone who. A customer is someone who. A shoplifter is someone who. A coward is someone who. An atheist is someone who. A pessimist is someone who. A tenant is someone who. And we have to continue from this box. The first one, an architect. An architect is someone who. What? Is someone who steals from a shop, for example, or designs buildings. Yes, designs buildings. So this is the first one. An architect is someone who designs buildings. Number two, a burglar. A burglar is someone who. Is someone who what? Breaks into a house to steal things. A burglar is someone who breaks into a house to steal things. A customer. A customer, زبون. A customer is someone who buys something from a shop. A shoplifter is someone who steals from a shop. Again, a shoplifter is someone who steals from a shop. A coward is someone who is not brave. Is not brave. An atheist is someone who doesn't believe in God. An atheist, again, is someone who doesn't believe in God. Pessimist is someone who متشائم is someone who expects the worst to happen. Expects the worst to happen. And the last one, tenant. A tenant, مستأجر, is someone who pays rent to live in a house or flat. Okay, is it clear? So we have to use who because we are talking about people here. Yes, أشياء عاقل, إشي عاقل, we use who. Okay. Rewrite the following sentences by using who or which. We use who for people and which for things. Look at this sentence. The girl was injured in the accident. She is now in hospital. How can we combine these two sentences with one sentence by using what? Because we are talking about the girl, we are going to use who. Okay. Can we say like this? The girl was injured in the accident. Who she is now? No. So we are talking about the girl, right? This is the subject. The girl, who or which? Who? Yes. The girl who was injured in the accident is now in hospital. We delete she because we made the two sentences as one sentence, and we don't have to mention the subject again because here it is mentioned here, the girl. ما بصير نكرر الاسم. So again, the girl which was injured in the accident is now in hospital. Is it okay? Shall I repeat? Okay, for the last time. We are talking about the girl here. So we have to use who. The girl who was injured in the accident is now in hospital. We have to delete she. Okay, the second one. The waitress served us. She was impolite and impatient. What's the meaning of waitress? Waitress اللي هي النادلة اللي بتشتغل بمطعم. The waitress, we are talking about يعني people, عاقل. The waitress who served us, okay, we have to delete she because we are talking about the waitress. The waitress who served us was impolite and impatient. Is it clear? The waitress who served us was impolite and impatient. Okay. Some people were arrested. They have now been released. Okay, we are talking about people, not things. So we have to use who or which. Who? Yes. Some people who were arrested, we have to delete they because we are talking about people. Some people who were arrested have now been released. So we have to delete they because we made the two sentences as one sentence. Okay, and we can't say like this. Some people were arrested, or some people who were arrested, they have now been, because we made one sentence without using they. Okay. Number 4, the bus. Here we have to use what? Which, because we are talking about thing. The bus which goes to the airport runs every half hour. We have to delete it because it refers to the bus, and here they refers to the people, she refers to the waitress, and here she refers to the girl. Because of that we have to delete them. So again, the bus which goes to the airport runs every half hour. Okay. Exercise 3. Complete the sentences by choosing the best endings from the box and change them into relative clauses. Okay, we have to choose who or which and to complete the sentence. Let's do the first one for you, and the rest will be a homework. Complete the sentences by choosing the best endings from the box and change them into relative clauses. He invented the telephone. She runs away from home. She stole my car. They were on the wall. It makes furniture. It gives you the meanings of words. It can support life. It cannot be explained. I will do the first one for you, but number 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, homework. Jenny works for a company which, because we are talking about here a company. Jenny works for a company which what? Which makes furniture. Which makes furniture. We have to delete it because it refers to the company, and we made a sentence, a main sentence, so we have to delete the pronoun. Jenny works for a company which makes furniture. Okay, the rest is a homework. Exercise 4. Are these sentences right or wrong? Correct them where necessary. Let's start with the first one. What was the name of the person who he phoned you? Where is the mistake here? What was the name of the person who phoned you without mentioning he? Because we are talking, or he refers to the person. So delete he. The sentence will be, what was the name of the person who phoned you? Number 2. Where is the nearest shop who sells newspapers? Can I say who? I'm talking about shop, yani thing. So, where is the nearest shop which sells newspapers? Instead of who, we use what? Which. Number 3. I don't like stories they which have unhappy endings. There is a mistake here. Mentioning the pronoun is wrong. And we don't have to mention the pronoun. I don't like stories which have unhappy endings. So you have to delete they. Number 4. The driver which caused the accident was fined 500 JD. The driver which? No. The driver what? The driver who caused the accident was fined. Okay. Next, number 5. Do you know the person who took these photographs? Do you know the person who took these photographs? Is there a mistake in this sentence? Look carefully. We don't have any mistake here, so the sentence is right. Number 6. We live in a world which it is changing all the time. There is a mistake here. Where is it? It. We don't have to mention it because we are talking about the world. The world, yani it refers to the world. So we have to delete it. We live in a world which is changing all the time. Okay, number 7. Dan said some things about me which were not true. Dan said some things about me which were not true. Is there a mistake here? No, because things we used for things which, and the sentence is right. Number 8. What was the name of the horse it won the race? What was the name of the horse it won the race? Where is the relative pronoun here? It is missing. So, what was the name of the horse? Who or which? What was the name of the horse who won the race? Or which won the race? Which is correct? Yes, which. What was the name of the horse which won the race? Thank you. Okay, don't forget the homework. We will go to the next worksheet. Here we have another worksheet, relative clauses to. Okay, let's start with the third relative pronoun. We talked about who and which. Who for people and which for things. Here we are going to talk about whose. We use whose in a relative clause instead of his or her or their. It means الذي له أو التي لها. هي possessive ملكية. So instead of his or her or their, we use whose. We saw some people, their car had broken. Sorry. We saw some people, their car had broken down. If we want to rewrite it, we saw some people whose car broken down. Instead of their, we use whose. So we use whose mostly for people, mostly for people. Look at the first sentence. A widow is a woman whose husband is dead. الأرملة يعني. A widow is a woman whose husband is dead. يعني her husband is dead. Her husband is dead. What's the name of the man whose car you borrowed? Whose car you borrowed? يعني you borrowed his car. I met someone whose brother I went to school with. It means I went to school with his or her brother. So whose instead of his or her. Number 4. I met a man whose sister knows you. His sister knows you. I met a man whose sister knows you. It means his sister knows you. Okay, so whose depends on the meaning of the sentence. Okay. Another relative pronoun, whom. We can use whom in a relative clause instead of who when it is the object of the relative clause. لما يكون الobject or person هو object, we use whom. Look at the first one. The woman who I wanted to see was away, or the woman whom I wanted to see. يعني we can use in English we can look at this. We don't often use whom in formal English. يعني we prefer who. So it is right to use who instead of whom. But to differentiate between who and who for subject and whom for object. Okay, look at this sentence again. The woman who I wanted to see, or I can say the woman whom I wanted to see, because woman here is an object. We used whom, but it is right to use who also. Let's move to see. We use where in a relative clause to talk about a place. للمكان. Where we use where for places. Look at this sentence. The restaurant where. Before we start, can we give places as examples? For example, hospital, school, hotel, street, house, home, amman, city, mall, etc. These are places. So with the places we have to use what? Where? حيث. Places. The restaurant where we had our dinner was near the airport because we are talking about restaurant, مكان, مطعم. So we use where. I recently went back to the to the town where I grew up. We are talking about a place, town. So we used here where. I would like to live in a place where there is plenty of sunshine. Because we have a place it means makan. So we use what? Where. Next. There is an important thing here. We can use which instead of where. We can use which instead of where if the place, not he, the place. Correct it, please. If the place is followed by a verb. Look at this sentence. This is the city which was rebuilt last year. طب ليش we used here which instead of where? I'll tell you. Look at this. We have city, place, okay? But we have verb here, was. So if we have a place and we have a verb, we use which for the place, not where. يعني not the city where was. But imagine that here there wasn't a verb, we use where. That is the building which locates near the city center. طب why we use here which instead of where? Because the building here is a place, but I have a verb here after the space. يعني بعد الفراغ إجاني verb. I use which. Okay? Again, if we have a place with a verb after the space, we use which. If I have a place and I have subject or noun after the space, we use where. يعني إذا إجا عندي اسم مكان وبعد الفراغ إجا فعل بستخدم which. وإذا كان عندي اسم مكان وفراغ وبعد الفراغ إجا اسم بستخدم where. For example, that is the building where I live. مش which I live. But that is the building which locates near because we have verb locates. Okay. Exercise. Complete each sentences using who, whom, whose, or where. We have 16 sentences. I will leave them for you as a homework. Okay. So again, quickly I will repeat. I will repeat again quickly. We talked in this lesson, we talked about 4 relative pronouns. Who, which, whose, and where. Who for people, which for things, whose for possessive, and where for place. But the important thing about where is we can use which instead of where. We can use which instead of where if the place is followed by a verb. But if it is followed by a subject or a noun, we use where. So I have to thank you for your concentration. Thank you very much for being with me. If anything isn't clear, you can contact and you can call me anytime. Thank you ويعطيكم ألف عافية وشكرا جزيلا لكم.